to the Derek Deputy Video Game Show. I'm Derek Deputy. I want to apologize. I did miss last week. There just wasn't enough to talk about. There was barely any video game news. It was this summer in general. Like, we had E3, or not E3, whatever you want to call it, Summer Game Fest. And there was all sorts of news then, and it's just kind of been a break since then. So there wasn't much to talk about last week, at least not much that I found interesting. But here we are. There was barely enough for this week, so we're going to talk about video games, because that's what we do every week around this same time. I try to upload an episode, or at least I try to every week. Like I said, I occasionally skip a week if there's not enough to talk about. Talk about video games, video game news, and I am trying something new with this episode, because I was doing like these little music breaks. I'm not doing that this week. We'll see how it turns out. Make sure if you're listening on YouTube, click the subscribe button, click the like button, click the notification bell. Leave a comment discussing anything we talk about here today. If you are listening on a different podcasting service, Spotify, Amazon, anything like that, if they have like a subscribe button or a follow button, it sometimes looks different from service to service. Just click the button, click that button, and subscribe to the RSS feed. And if they don't have a button, just tune in next week. There will probably be an episode. Sometimes there isn't, but there usually is. And let's talk about video games, because we do have a lot to talk about. There are Nickelodeon All-Stars 2 was confirmed this week. There are Xbox pizza-scented Xbox controllers. There are Switch 2 rumors, and I played Pikmin 4. So let's get into all of that. But first, let's talk a little bit about some plans I have for this week. So, this week is Gencon. It's in my home city of Indianapolis. For those who don't know, Gencon is the largest tabletop gaming convention in the United States. It's kind of like the E3 of tabletop games, D&D, card games, TCGs, board games, party games, Cards Against Humanity, all sorts of things like that. But this is a video game show, so why am I talking about this? For one, I just wanted to let people know that I'm there. Two, there's still not a whole lot of video game stuff to talk about, but we'll get to some of it. But three, like I said, this is sort of like the E3 of tabletop gaming. There's likely to be tabletop games based on video game related properties there, and video game related merchandise. I go nearly every year. I haven't been since the pandemic, but before that I was going every year. It's a lot of fun. As far as video game stuff, there usually is a booth or two with retro games, so that should be fun to look at. I always find all sorts of neat stuff there, and I will certainly let people know if I see anything video game related while I'm there. I'm planning on entering at least one Yu-Gi-Oh tournament, because I noticed they have some listed as events on the website. And I'm probably going to just be browsing the exhibit hall a lot, planning on cosplaying as a Team Rocket Grunt. It should be a lot of fun, and I hope to see lots of people there. So earlier this year, it was reported that Doctor Who would be coming to Fortnite to celebrate the anniversary of Doctor Who. And it was reported, I don't remember when they reported it would be happening, but it was reported. I even talked about it here. But it seems it's been delayed Uh, it will arrive. The source for this, first off, is iFireMonkey, which is the same source as the original. Rumors. They say that will arrive in December and January. Mini Event Pass is still happening. The delay for it's delayed for a Lego collab in November, which it doesn't say. It's a little bit weird. It doesn't say if this collab, this Lego collab, if it's a Doctor Who Lego collab or a Fortnite Lego collab. So I might have to look that up here. Actually, I'm going to look that up just right now. Yeah, I don't see anything either way. So there's some kind of Lego collab that causes to be delayed. And then they also report the 60th anniversary look of the 15th Doctor skin is no longer happening. Which is sure, I guess. I'm sure he'll still be part of the collaboration in some way. And it's a little bit weird because we don't know. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Lots of things seem to be happening in the world of Doctor Who because of the anniversary. There's also like a mobile game that's getting an event right now. So a Fortnite event doesn't surprise me. I'm a little bit surprised it's getting delayed like this. I don't know what it's talking about with a Lego collaboration. Are there going to be Lego characters in Fortnite? That's sure, but there's not much more to say here. I'm a little bit disappointed. I wanted it to be sooner. I might actually start playing Fortnite for this. So hopefully it doesn't get delayed too long. Hopefully it doesn't get further delayed. I am slightly excited for this. Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2 was confirmed this week. I was a little bit surprised because I didn't think the first game did well enough to get a sequel, but I'm glad it did. I enjoyed the first game. There have been rumors of a sequel for quite a while now. I've been following those rumors, and it looks like it was all real. The first game I enjoyed enough, although I did feel like there wasn't enough content for the price. It feels like they're fixing a lot of those issues. It has an all-new story mode campaign, an all-new gameplay, all-new modes and content, voiceover, crossplay, and new characters. They announced this on their website, NickelodeonAllStarsBrawl.com. But Gematsu also revealed more details about the game, including deluxe versions of the game, season passes, extra costumes, all sorts of stuff like that. We saw some new characters, 2 more of the Ninja Turtles, although we don't know for a fact that the ones that were in the last game are returning. That would be a little bit weird if we can only get 2 Ninja Turtles per game. I hope that's not the case. Just put in all the Ninja Turtles. That'd be neat. I'm not a big Ninja Turtle fan, but I think a lot of people would enjoy that. We're also getting Squidward. We're getting Jimmy Neutron. We also know Vlad Plasmus is the main antagonist of the campaign. We don't know for a fact that Vlad Plasmus is from Danny Phantom. Is playable in the game. But if they're putting him in the campaign like that, I would assume he's going to be playable. He's like on the front of the box. But we haven't seen him like being played at all. We do know Squidward and Jimmy Neutron are in. Jimmy Neutron is a character I really wanted in the first game. So I'm glad he made it into this one. It looks like there's also going to be like some kind of super move. It looks neat. I am excited. It looks better graphically, and that campaign has me interested. I will probably play this. Listen, there's not many games with the Avatar Aang and Avatar Korra in them. And that brings me to another part of this story, almost right after... we did not get an official date released, but almost right after the reveal, a date leaked for 2 games, actually. Avatar: The Quest of Balance is apparently coming out on September 22nd. And Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2 is apparently coming out on October 24th, around the same time as the Metal Gear Solid Collection, Mario Wonder, Spider-Man 2, Sonic, Alan Wake, all these games just within like about 10 days of each other. It's going to be... some games are probably going to lose out because of this, and Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl is probably one of them, but I don't know. I'm still excited for the game. I'll give it a try. That leak comes from SmithToys.com, by the way. We know it's not placeholders because they usually use December 31st as their placeholder. But then there was additional leak from other retailers. This comes from thegamer.com. There are several other retailers that also leaked October 24th. I don't know why everything for this game keeps leaking. It's kind of weird, but I don't know. It's fine. I'm following the leaks. I like it. But game looks good. Gameplay trailer looks good. I know a lot of people were disappointed by the first game. There just wasn't enough there. There wasn't voice acting, so on. I wasn't that bothered by the lack of voice acting, but I'm glad they're putting it in the second game. And I'm excited. I will probably pick this up. It'll be one more game this October, which is looking to be a very packed month for gaming. But next, I do want to talk just a little bit about Pokemon. A Pokemon Presents has leaked. This comes from Loris, Eternal Stay, on Twitter. Now, X.com, I think, is what they're going to call it. I don't know. It's dumb. I'm just going to keep calling it Twitter. It's in French, so I have to use the translator here, the Google translates. But there was an update for Pokemon Masters EX. It got data mined. A event or Pokemon, it's not clear what, will be released on August 8th at 3 p.m. and not 8 a.m. as it usually is. Is this a sign for an announcement via Pokemon Presents, they ask. And then they reply, afterwards, if you want something more explicit, there is a campaign called Pokemon Presents, which starts August 8th at 3 p.m. So everything, all signs are adding up to a Pokemon Presents. What could be there? Well, we know from this, Pokemon Masters is going to be there. If Pokemon Masters is going to be there, probably Pokemon Go, probably that Pokemon puzzle game that's on mobile that I can't remember the name of, and at this point, probably Pokemon Sleep. As far as other stuff goes, we'll get to the video games in a second. As far as other stuff goes, there could be Pokemon TCG stuff. In fact, there could even be a Pokemon TCG video game, specifically the old Game Boy game, because we know that we're supposed to get the Pokemon TCG video game, the one from the Game Boy. We're supposed to get that on NSO eventually. It's already been announced. We don't know when. This could give us a date, a surprise drop, whatever you want to call it. There will probably be Pokemon DLC information. We have 2 Pokemon DLC events, or whatever you want to call it, chapters coming up. One in the fall, one in the winter. They got to start talking about that at some point. So I imagine we won't get a date, because usually with the DLC, with the Pokemon DLC in the past, they've only done DLC once, but with Sword and Shield, if I remember correctly, we only got the dates like less than a month before they were coming out. But I don't know. Maybe we'll get dates. I doubt it. But yeah, that's pretty exciting. Who knows what else Pokemon related could be there? Maybe they'll have anime news. Maybe they'll have TCG news. Who knows? Last time they had stuff more than just the video games. I kind of thought that was neat. So hopefully they continue that trend here. And as far as video games go, I imagine we'll get DLC. Pokemon TCG on NSO. Some people are suggesting like Pokemon Red and Blue or the Game Boy Advance games. I doubt that. It's not impossible. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, that will never happen. I just kind of doubt it. I think Pokemon TCG or other non-main series games are more likely than the main series games of old, because they'd rather just remake those and resell them. There have been rumors, of course, about a Unova stuff, but I doubt that's this year. If it was, it would already be announced by now. I imagine, I guess they could announce it now for like March. They did Arceus in March one year, but I kind of doubt it. I think that's going to be next year. I think we're just going to get the DLC this year. So yes, this is just a rumor, but it seems pretty likely on August 8th. Is that it? That's what it was? August 8th, there'll be a Pokemon Presents. I doubt that Presents will be at 3 p.m., by the way. For one, time zones. This could be 3 p.m. anywhere. But also, they could have a Presents and say later that day. So, who knows about a time, but around August 8th, we will probably get a Pokemon Presents. I think that makes sense. But next, I want to talk about my experience with Pikmin 4, which, spoiler alert, I've really been enjoying. So I really want to get done recording this podcast, mostly so I can go play some more Pikmin 4. Pikmin 4 is a fantastic game with great visuals, mostly. Some odd camera angles occasionally, but mostly good visuals. Fun, relaxing, addictive gameplay. I just got into Pikmin this year. I think I had talked about this on an earlier podcast, and this game made me quite happy I did. To start, the graphics, very good. Nintendo should use this graphical engine on more of their games. Probably even most of them. The items you're collecting look extremely realistic, and the lighting is very good. There are some minor camera control issues. I mostly notice it in combat. Once in a while, you have to control the camera in a certain way. It's a little bit difficult to explain, but you have to pretty much use 3 fingers to make sure you're lined up properly in combat. It's a little bit odd. I'm sure it could be fixed. The gameplay, fun. They added a lot compared to previous games. I enjoyed how they brought back all the previous Pikmin from the previous game instead of just picking and choosing which ones to bring back. It was great to see the Pikmin from both Pikmin 2 and 3, some of which have never been seen together before. The Ice Pikmin are also a nice addition. I think the best new addition is Otachi, the little dog, though. When I saw him in the trailers, I wasn't completely sold. Made it seem like some of the Pikmin might even be useless completely, but he does add a lot and make the game better. The ability to sniff out treasures, survivors, onions, all sorts of stuff was a huge addition that made the game much better. They also made the game very beginner friendly, and I think this might be the best starting point in the series. I don't care for how they changed the number of Pikmin you can have, the number of different types of Pikmin you can have. In previous games, you could just always have 100, and you could have 100 of any types of Pikmin. In this game, you do have to unlock 10 at a time. So you start with like 20 or 30, I don't remember. And then you collect these little garlic things. I forget, garlic flares, I think is what they were called. Every one you collect lets you have access to 10 more Pikmin at a time. But you can only have 3 different types at a time, which is kind of annoying. I don't like that. I don't like when they negatively change a game going from one game to the next game in the series. It's just kind of a shame. If I wanted to have all 7, 8 different types of Pikmin in one team, I should be able to do that. I really liked the additional characters in the game, and the upgrade system added quite a bit. I was surprised by how much content is in this game. There's almost as much new stuff post-game as there is before you roll the credits. In fact, I was slightly annoyed by some of the stuff they held for the post-credits. Without spoiling anything, there was a few things that I definitely thought should have been part of the main game. There's one thing in particular that you get, essentially, for beating one is essentially the final boss of the post-game. And considering they sort of allude at that being the last thing you do, they sort of hint at that being the last thing you're supposed to do, it's kind of weird that they hide this there. But you can do it before then. I did, and I made use of it. It's fun. I really like all the new options as far as how you can play the game. The auto-targeting makes this game much more accessible. I do wish the camera controls were a little bit better. As I mentioned earlier, they can get a little bit funky sometimes with fighting certain enemies, depending on like what items you're next to. But outside of that, the different control options are very good. I love the upgrade system. It gives me even more to collect and makes me want to keep collecting everything. All in all, this is a very fun, very addictive, very relaxing game. It was clearly designed with new players in mind. If you've never played a Pikmin game, you can start here. This is a perfectly fine starting point. This is a good game to start with. I really have enjoyed my time with Pikmin 4, and I think I'm going to 100% this game. I am not someone who usually does that sort of thing. I'm not usually the type of person to 100% a game, but I think Pikmin 4 is worth my time. I'm enjoying it that much. In fact, I this could be a Game of the Year contender in my mind. I don't know yet because there are still a ton of games coming out, but in my mind, it could be a Game of the Year contender. It is that good. But I do want to take a quick side tour. We're going to go to something else. We're going to talk about some Insomniac game rumors. So Insomniac Games is a studio owned by PlayStation currently. They bought them, I think, right before Spider-Man came out. And they have probably made all their money back plus more. This studio's output is absolutely insane. And even more insane, they do it without any crunch. When Ratchet and Clank came out, the last one, Rift Apart, one of the senior managers or something was bragging about how they did it without crunching anyone. So I don't know what's going on at Insomniac Games, if they're like taking drugs or something. But in 2017, I think it was 2017, it might have been 2018, they released Spider-Man. And then they also released Miles Morales. They released Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. They're about to release Spider-Man 2. They're working on Wolverine, and apparently they're also working on another project, an unannounced project alongside Spider-Man and Wolverine, according to their project director. They did a interview, which you'll have to excuse me, I can't figure out who this interview was with. I'm getting this from the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit, which links to a Dreamwalker on Twitter, but I don't think that's the source of the interview. They've been working on another unannounced AAA game aside from Marvel's Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine PS5. Earlier in the year, they were hiring, and they were hiring for a multiplayer project. So this kind of adds up. I think it could be another Marvel game. There are some people online who thinks, oh, this has to be the next Ratchet and Clank. I don't think so. I think this is either a new IP that's multiplayer, or it could be a multiplayer Marvel game. If it is a multiplayer Marvel game, the only thing that makes sense to me is the Fantastic Four. I guess it could be Guardians of the Galaxy, but I doubt that. There was just a Guardians of the Galaxy game by a completely different company, so I kind of doubt it. It's not impossible, but I doubt it. Same reason I also kind of doubt Avengers. It just doesn't make sense given the history of video games with them right now. I think what makes the most sense to me, I think this could be a Fantastic Four game. A multiplayer Fantastic Four game where you can play by yourself or play with other players, and each player can control a different member of the Fantastic Four. I think it just sort of makes sense. And it could be fun. The Fantastic Four outside of the comics, things don't always go so well for them. Every single one of their movies has sucked. I mean, I can't think of any great Fantastic Four games. It's just, and other forms of media besides the comics just haven't gone so well for them. But I think if anyone can do it, it would be Insomniac. If anyone can make the Fantastic Four interesting outside of video games, it would be Insomniac Games. So, I mean, outside of comics, it would be Insomniac Games. So, that's what I think is likely. It could be something else completely. It could be a new IP. Who knows? But I think I'm hoping for a Fantastic Four game. But next, I do want to talk about pizza. So we're going to talk about pizza, and you'll see why that's video game related in a moment. So, as I said earlier in the show, I am not a big fan of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I've seen the first movie. It was good enough, but it's not something I really grew up with. I'm not a huge Turtles person. But the story was funny and wacky enough that I just really wanted to talk about it. Because they are making controllers that smell like pizza. I like pizza. I probably like pizza a little bit too much, but I think this is weird. Weird enough that it's in a good way. Weird, wacky, wacky enough that it's probably going to sell a lot. Here's what's going on. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they have a movie coming up, and to celebrate it, Xbox is releasing some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It looks like there's one for each turtle. And the controllers themselves technically aren't what smells. So the smell has to do with a little slide, or you insert like a plastic slice of pizza. It looks like, and I've seen video, and you like drip some stuff into the pizza thing that you slot in, and it just makes it smell like pizza. And I think this is interesting. Is definitely one way of putting it. It's wacky. I hope more of this type of thing happens, but it's definitely not for me. But I'd be a little bit concerned, because it did look like they were, like I said, it looked like from a video I saw, they were like dripping something into the pizza thing, like a liquid substance, and I wouldn't want that to leak into the controller. But this is something they're making. It looks like their prize is only for a contest, from what I'm reading on news.xbox.com. They're giving away these controllers as part of a contest. I'm not sure if they'll be for sale separately or not. But this is neat. I'm glad this exists. And I just wanted to bring it to people's attention. There also are plenty of Ninja Turtle games on Xbox at this point. So I'm a little bit surprised they didn't already have Turtles controllers. But I'm glad they do. I'm glad they are pizza scented. I like the wacky stuff like this. This is neat. Let's talk about something else. So, surprisingly, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, or really just Super Smash Bros. As a whole, was in the news this week, slightly. As many people know, Masahiro Sakurai, he's like the director of the Super Smash Bros. Series, or the chief developer. I forget his official title. He has a YouTube channel. And this week he discussed the development behind Brawl a little bit, the development team. And that's not the news. The real news is he also, in this video, it made him discuss future Smash Brothers projects. And he discussed his possible exit from the series. Or kind of. He essentially he asked, hey, what happens next time? And he kind of ponders, hey, will I be leaving? Will I not? I can't imagine anyone else taking over the series. His exact quote is that I can't really imagine a Smash Brothers title without me. That's what he said. And he said, you might think that's a natural stance for someone in my role, but I say so speaking objectively. I feel the same way former Nintendo president Satoru Iwata did when we formed the team for Smash Bros. Brawl. At present, we don't have someone who can simply take over the reins, which seems to be a pretty common problem at Nintendo, by the way. I'm Zelda, Mario, so on. All these series have these long-time developers who have always worked on them, and and apparently they haven't thought about, hey, who takes over when we leave. But that's just a completely different story. The real story here is Smash Brothers. Sakurai is clearly thinking about the future of the series. He doesn't know what the future is. He knows it's a massive, important title for Nintendo. So it's fair to assume there will be another one at some point, but it's going to take some work to figure out exactly how to make that happen. For his part, he'd like to keep working with Nintendo however he's able. This all came from his YouTube channel. I'm reading it from Eurogamer.net, but I did also watch the video. He's tried to leave Smash Brothers before, he said, and it hasn't worked out. Yeah. And they also mentioned how Smash Brothers for Wii was actually announced before he was signed on for the project. They announced it, and it hadn't even actually started development yet. So that's interesting. That's kind of weird, actually. But I get why they did it, because they wanted to make sure they had something that was taking advantage of the online infrastructure of the Wii. Uh, uh, so, yeah, he posted that video. I recommend subscribing to Sakurai because his videos are actually pretty interesting. But that was a lot of information about the future of Smash in there and what his thoughts on the future of Smash. It was just interesting. It got a lot of people talking about it. I figured I'd bring it up here. But we do have one last story to talk about, and it's honestly it's breaking news as of recording this podcast. This just came out a few hours ago, so let's talk about it. So as of recording this, it is July 31st, 2023. I record these a few days early so I can edit. And just a few hours ago, VGC posted an article talking about Switch 2 stuff. Development kits are now with key partner studios, with launch planned for next year. The big takeaways here: could have an LCD instead of OLED to keep costs down. We still don't know about backwards compatibility. It will be portable with a physical cartridge slot. So this article is from actually, I don't think it says an author. That's a little bit odd. Trying to find an author for this article. Andy Robinson at VGC. There we go. According to multiple people with knowledge of Nintendo's next-gen console plans, the company is likely to release new hardware during the second half of 2024 to ensure that it's ample stock available on day one to avoid the kind of shortage seen with PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. Although specific details on the console are being kept closely guarded, those VGC spoke to indicated that the next-gen console would be able to be used in portable mode, similar to Nintendo Switch. Two suggested that it could launch with an LCD screen instead of a more premium OLED. I'm hoping there's an OLED version at launch that is more expensive, and an LCD is an optional thing. I haven't bought a Switch OLED because I already own the Switch. I just didn't see the point. But if there was a OLED version of this at launch, that's the version I would buy. I hear it looks so much better. But I don't know. LCD is fine. There will be higher storage. It'll also accept physical games via cartridge. Other details such as backwards compatibility, both physical and digital, remains unclear. I hope both physical and digital backwards compatibility is available. I will be disappointed if there's no backwards compatibility, and I would also be disappointed if it was digital only, because I own a lot of physical games. And Nintendo did not immediately respond to comment. So I think next year for a new Switch makes sense. Already the Switch life cycle is a little bit longer than most people expected. There have been rumors for a long time about the next Switch, the Switch Pro. First there were Switch Pro rumors, and then it didn't happen. So now there's Switch 2 rumors. And listen, there's going to be a next Nintendo system eventually. Whether it's next year or the year after, who knows? But there's going to be one eventually. 2024 does make sense to me. And I kind of hope this is true. I will say that a late year launch is a little bit disappointing. The Switch launched in March, and I think that really worked for Nintendo because it meant they had more Switches in stock that holiday. So I was hoping they would keep just doing March launches, but I mean, holiday is what most people do, so it's whatever. As long as the system is widely available, as quickly as possible, that's really what matters. I'm pretty excited for this. I want to see what Nintendo has in store. Hopefully it's neat. Hopefully it's not too gimmicky. All we really need is the Switch but better. And Nintendo has been known to do not that. So, it could be interesting. I just hope it's the Switch but better, though. That's all I really want out of it. So, good work to Andy Robinson, and it sounds like the VGC team as a whole, for this article, and hopefully we'll find out more soon. And that's the show. That's all I have today. I will hopefully be back next week with news from Gencon, maybe. But even if not, other video game related news. I usually upload around the same time every week, or at least try to. It doesn't. Unfortunately, there are weeks where there's just not enough to talk about, so it's not absolutely every week, but most. My name's Derek Deputy. This has been the Derek Deputy Video Game Show. If you've been listening on YouTube, make sure to like the video, comment with anything about anything discussed today. Give me your opinions. I would love to hear your opinions, read your opinions, have listeners be part of the discussion. If you are listening on another podcasting service, Spotify, Amazon, Apple Music. Actually, I'm not sure if we're on Apple Music or not, but maybe Apple Music and Google Podcasts, whatever. Make sure if there's a like button or a follow button or a subscribe button, whatever, just click all the buttons. The important thing, subscribe to the RSS feed. That's what's important. And if there's no ability to do that, just tune in next week. I'll be here, hopefully. Once again, this has been the Derek Deputy Video Game Show. Signing out.